Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video on a game that I recently beat on the PC. The game is Letter Quest Remastered, also available for, I believe, pretty much everything, including PS4, Xbox One, and I believe the Nintendo Switch as well. But as some of you may know, I recently purchased a mid-range gaming laptop. So I was able to, after years of inactivity, I was able to, or I re-logged in to my Steam account, which I already had a bunch of games that I purchased over the years and played it on my old laptop. And I was looking for unique PC experiences, obviously, because I do own pretty much every modern console out there. And I was looking for exclusive type of games that I can play. And in my library, I noticed the Typing of the Dead Overkill, which is a game that I really enjoyed back in the day, that I do have on Steam. And it's basically House of the Dead, but you have to use the keyboard to write the words to attack the zombies. And that game was fun. Highly recommend it if you guys want to buy it on Steam or something like that. That game was a lot of fun, great art direction, just fun writing and all that. So Typing of the Dead Overkill kind of triggered this on me, and I was wondering, are there any more typing games that I can take advantage now that I have a gaming PC? It's a unique way of playing games. Besides the conventional using a controller, I wanted to see if there are more experiences like Typing of the Dead Overkill, and sure enough, they did a little bit of research, and Letter Quest was one of the names that came out. Epistory is another one, which I did buy Epistory. That game is supposed to be awesome as well, and I do have it on my library now. But the subject of this video is Letter Quest Remastered, which it's basically a turn-based RPG with Scrabble as a combat system. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but that's just how the game works. Basically, Scrabble, you're given a set number of letters, and you have to basically create the longer the words, the more points you get, and which means that the higher your attack will be. The more strange letters you use, the more points you get, the stronger your attack would be. So if you use letters like Q or Z or X, W, things like that, those words are golden letters, so you get more points. Then you have your silver letters, kind of like B. What was another one? Like C. F, I think. So if you use those words, those are silver, you get less points than gold words. And then you have your bronze letters, which are your vowels, your common letters. So you're trying to figure out what is the longest word that can use the strangest letters, if you will. It's basically Scrabble, if you guys are familiar with that game or not. And I do love Scrabble. I remember the actual physical game, I only played it like once, but in the early 2000s, back in when all the Flash free game websites were out there, I remember me and my family would every now and then play a Flash game that was similar to Scrabble. You get the words and you have to create or get the most points for the longest words and whatnot. So I remember having a lot of fun with my family, sitting down in front of a computer and trying to come up with the words and everything. But I have to say that Letter Quest Remastered was a very enjoyable experience. The game is very well set up. As I was saying, it combines RPG elements. For example, it's not only just a Scrabble component, obviously. The enemies, they have their own special attacks because it's turn-based, so you want to do the most damage, obviously, by creating the longest and strangest words in order to deal a lot of damage. And the enemies, when it's their turn, they can either sometimes inflict effects on you, or in the tiles, in the tiles of the letters themselves. So they can put effects of poison, or they can do they have a plague attack, poison. They can use stone tiles that you can't use. So sometimes they use the stone effect, and you cannot use those letters, and you were kind of hoping already to use those letters when it's your turn, but you can't, so you have to wait a number of turns before those letters go back to being normal. Same with the poison attack. If you use those letters for a word, you're gonna get damage. And there are many effects like that that are very interesting, that make you strategize throughout the game. Sometimes it's beneficial, you know, the enemy might be almost dead and you have a lot of health left, and so you might as well use the ladder despite having a negative effect just to kill the enemy. So it depends on the situation, and the game adds that layer of strategy that I really enjoyed. Another cool thing that I found about this game is that every level has basically 4 different modes, if you will. The first mode is just a normal, it's you against the enemies in that particular level. The second one is a time attack type of mode, where you only have a limited amount of time to complete the stage. This is where things get a little bit interesting, because you have to be very quick, and sometimes you benefit from just typing short words that are not worth a lot of points, but you're trying to just inflict a lot of damage in a quick amount of time, so you go for shorter words. And then you have kind of like the regular mode, but with higher difficulty. Enemies have more health and whatnot, so there's a lot of replay value for each type of level in the game. And you know, then you have like the characters that in a story, believe it or not, you play as a Grim Reaper called Grim, and then you can use the female counterpart or companion, which is called Rose, I think. The story is just very simple. Your character wants to order pizza. He's unable to order pizza, so he's going there to pick it up, and basically you have all these enemies that are trying to like basically kill you on your way to pick up the pizza. So very silly story, but again, the meat and potatoes of this game is actually the actual gameplay. And it's a very addicting game, because I feel like anyone can jump in and play. The game does have normal and hard mode or expert mode. I played it on normal. English is not my, you know, mother tongue, or you know, first language, if you will, so I was able to beat the game no problem. I think it's a good game to just get the family together, your kids or whoever. It's a game that I think a lot of people can chime in and try to help you out with the words. I know my wife at certain points, she was also getting into the game, trying to help me come up with better words, and it's addicting. If I do have to say a couple of or a negative, is that the game can become quite grindy, because besides, you know, the special effects that the enemies have on you, your character also levels up in terms of your weapons. You can have different types of weapons. You can have a weapons that specializes in dealing a lot of damage. You can have weapons that specialize in healing you after every attack. So you have weapons with different effects that you can buy different weapons, and then you can level up those weapons using the in-game currency, which are gems. The better you perform at each level, the more gems you get. And you can grind for gems. You can replay stages over and over to get more gems. But that can become, that can prolong the game too much, in my opinion. I think just trying to go in the natural way is the best way. But certain parts, you reach a point where the enemies are just much stronger than you, and you have to figure it out the best way to take them out. Some levels are pretty hard. So it requires for you to have, like I said, upgraded weapons. In this game, you can also have upgraded potions or books, like what is the word I'm looking for? Yeah, books that basically have magic spells. And like, for example, if you have words that contain 2 letters in a row, like bubble, you know, bubble has 2 B's in the middle. That gives more damage to the enemies. So you can equip all these magic spell books in your inventory, and depending on the type of mode that you're playing, you have to change the books. There's a book that gives you more time for the time attack mode, so you want to have that book while you're playing the time attack portion of the levels, and then switch it out when you're playing the regular combat mechanic or type of gameplay mode. So a lot of strategy involved, which I thought it was refreshing, but at the same time, it's easy to pick up and play, and easy to grasp the concepts. I know sometimes when you play RPGs, you know, they can become a little bit unintuitive in terms of the combat system, in terms of the skill trees and the different items and crafting things and all that. This game makes everything very simple, which is, I think this is a good game to perhaps give it to younger, like if you have a son or kids that are growing up. I think it helps both ways. It helps them get their feet wet in RPG elements, and at the same time, being a Scrabble type of game, it makes you kind of like, obviously think and try to become better at finding out words, and it just it makes your vocabulary improve and things like that. So the game, I want to say around 15 hours. There are 40 levels available in the game. This is the remastered version, which I think has more levels than the regular one. The cool thing about Steam is I believe if you buy the regular game, it automatically updates to the remastered version or something like that. I purchased a remastered version. It was on sale on Steam, so pulled the trigger, and I was pleasantly surprised with this game. The RPG elements blend very well with the Scrabble elements, and the characters. There's a charm, characters, and silly storyline. Obviously, the graphics are nothing special. This game is looks like a Flash game, like a very simplistic looking game, but you're not playing this for the graphics. Obviously, you're not playing this game for the soundtrack. You're playing this game just for the gameplay type, the fun factor, and I can vouch for those two things. So highly recommend it if you guys are interested. Again, I got the Steam version, which in my opinion is the definitive one in terms of, because you're able to use the keyboard basically. You can also use your mouse once you have your tiles. You can click on the different letters. But I think this game will be somewhat challenging playing it on consoles, because you have to, I'm assuming you have to use your D-pad to navigate and select the tiles. And this, I'm assuming, will become very difficult when you're playing time attack mode and you're just trying to, do the words as fast as you can. So highly recommend it if you have Steam or a PC. It's a good time waster, time killer, easy pick up and play game that can become quite challenging, especially in the later stages, and unfortunately a little bit grindy at the midpoint of the game, but nevertheless it's a fun experience. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.